We got a lot to talk about in today's edition of the Red Sox Rundown. We're 2 days past the Red Sox being eliminated by the New York Yankees, and there are more questions than answers revolving around the 2026 Red Sox roster. What's the deal with Alex Bregman? What's the deal with Trevor Story? There's a lot we have to talk about. In today's edition, we're going to talk about Story and Bregman. But I just want to get the pulse. Like I said, we're 2 days clear of the Red Sox being eliminated by the Yankees. And it's going to be a highly contentious conversation over the next few months. Would you re-sign Alex Bregman? With all the information that we have, would you re-sign Alex Bregman? Type S for sign if you would. Type P for pass if you would not. I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Let's get into today's video. Welcome into this edition of the Red Sox Rundown. I'm your host, Jack Lauderay. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. The season may be over, but we're not. We're still going to be here every single day. And today, like I've already mentioned, we're talking about Trevor Story rumors and Alex Bregman rumors. We have quotes from Story, Bregman. We have thoughts from Chris Cotillo. We have Sam Kennedy chiming in on Alex Bregman as well. We're going to talk about all of those. Let's start with Trevor Story. I think that one's a little more cut and dry, so let's talk about that one first, and then we'll get into a deeper conversation about Alex Bregman. Here's what Trevor Story had to say after the game in response to, potentially opting out of his contract or not. He said, "It's not the top of my mind. I'm not going to speak on that right now, but I came here to be here for a long time. If I'm being honest, if I'm giving you my full-fledged thoughts right now, 2 days removed, I think he stays." I think that's actually kind of obvious, too, if you're really thinking about it. Since he signed with the Red Sox, he hasn't been healthy. And this was his first real, full healthy season, and he contributed. He looked really good. He was considered by many to be the MVP of this team, and I don't want to say I think that owes the Red Sox because they've been paying him all this money and he's just been injured the entire time. Of course, you never want injuries to happen, so that feels a little bit like a stretch, but at the same time, I do think Brett thinks about that. He's commented on that in the past, feeling bad for not being able to contribute and always being hurt. He's talked about that. On top of that, I also think he really likes Alex Cora. I think he really likes the culture of the Red Sox. I think he really likes this young core that Boston is building. And I do think that he likes the responsibility of both being a clubhouse leader and mentoring these young players. Like he had his Story camp last winter where he had Anthony and Meyer down there getting work with Ref Snyder, him, and I think a few others, if I remember correctly. And I do think he likes that mentorship role. We didn't see it as much. We saw that more with Bregman this past season, but that's not to say that Story was not involved, and I genuinely think he was, and I do think he likes that. I think he likes the future that the Red Sox are starting to kind of plot out. I think he realizes, like a lot of us, that they could be a World Series contender as early as next year, and therefore, like the end of his quote says, he came here to be here for a long time. It's not always about the money. I think it's genuinely about where do you want to play. And Story wants to play in Boston. He has a spot in Boston, and he's still getting paid pretty hefty as well. Let's not act like he's not getting paid a lot of money. He is. So I think he stays. I don't see any reason why he would leave. And I think the end of that quote is very telling as to where his thoughts are right now. You let me know. Does Trevor Story stay with the Red Sox past, this offseason in 2026? Type Y for yes if you think he does. Type N for no if you think he does not. You let me know down below in the comments. I'm going to type my Y for yes. I think he does, but you let me know down below. All right, let's have a longer conversation about Alex Bregman. I'm going to talk about the no's, and then I'm going to talk about the yeses, because the biggest conversation right now I think that everyone's having, whether they agree or disagree, is what the hell is going to happen with Alex Bregman. You had the opportunities to potentially extend him around the deadline. Him and Scott Boras both said they were willing to listen to offers and negotiate in the middle of the season. The Red Sox didn't do that, and then Bregman shut down conversations for the rest of the season. So the Red Sox are going to have to compete for Bregman. If and when, because I think it's when he opts out. I just want to make things abundantly clear. Alex Bregman's going to opt out. I don't see a world, at least in my opinion, where he doesn't. Because, yes, you can talk about the past article where he said it would have to take a huge injury or a huge slump for him not to opt out, and he did kind of have a huge monumental slump at the end of the season. But I do still think Bregman while being a Boras client, is at least going to take the risk of opting out into free agency. Now, will he get a contract bigger than the one he's already gotten in Boston? I don't know. I'd say probably not, because he just didn't have the season to constitute a bigger contract. But it's still a gamble that I think Boras in particular is willing to take. But here, we got a quote from Alex Bregman. It's a two-parter, but I kind of put it together. Here's what he had to say after the game about potentially opting out of his contract. He said, "Not even thinking about that at all right now. Thinking about the game and what just happened. I'm going to think about this game, the guys in the room, to start my offseason, get after it, and become a better baseball player." And then this was the second part of the quote. He said, "Proud of the fight in the room, proud of the guys. It was an honor to put on this jersey." Everyone's reacting to the end of that quote. I reacted to the end of that quote. I literally tweeted, I said, "This sounds like a guy that is for sure gone." And it does kind of sound that way. It does kind of sound like Bregman's like, "I don't know, we'll kind of see what happens. I'm not really sure." But yeah, that quote definitely a little bit troubling, to say the least. Then Chris Cotillo, who's had fantastic coverage this year. I've cited him a million times this year. He put out a tweet. And I do want to make it clear, because he made it clear in tweets afterwards, that this is not anything he's heard. These are not reports. This is not anything. This is just his thoughts, his take on the Alex Bregman situation. I still think it's notable because he does kind of know how the team works. So this is what Cotillo had to say about Alex Bregman. He said, "One of my big takes heading into this winter is that they might be more willing to let Bregman walk than everyone thinks. There are concerns about the aging curve and health there. How you have to weigh that against the leadership, intangibles, his ceiling. Remember, there was a split camp last winter." And that's completely right. If you don't remember, because the channel wasn't around when this was happening, so I didn't have any reports on this, but if you remember last winter, when the reports around Bregman potentially coming to Boston were a thing, there were reports that the camp was split. Not everybody wanted to bring in Bregman. I believe Breslow was one of the people who didn't want to bring in Bregman. So Cotillo's thoughts here actually kind of make a lot of sense. And I know that a lot of people in my comments are going to say, "Get rid of him. He's old. He's not healthy. He was bad at the end of the season." I get that. And it on paper makes sense. He was hurt. He's getting older. He didn't have the season we all thought he was going to have. The front office and the camp last year was already split on whether or not they wanted him. So maybe they are extra willing to let him go. That could be a thing to consider. And while I don't agree with that, I'm going to get into the good thoughts here in a second. While I don't agree with that, I could see that happening. So this Bregman conversation is going to be very interesting, and I'm very interested to see what happens. And that's why you should subscribe to the channel, because whenever we get updates on Bregman, on Story, I know Giolito's got an opt-out coming as well. Whenever we get updates on any of these, I'm going to have you covered. I'm going to make short-form content. I'm going to have long-form content all throughout the offseason. I know a lot of people asked after the live streams, "Jack, are you still going to be making content in the offseason?" You damn right I am. Every single day, with shorts, long-form videos, community posts, all of the above. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help us get to our goal of 6,500 subscribers. We just got to 6,100 yesterday. Help us get to 6,500. That is our next milestone on the channel. So we talked about the negatives. We talked about why he will opt out. Now let's talk about why he might not opt out, because I don't think that is... So I gave my thoughts of he probably will opt out, but that's not a guarantee. So, I do think it makes sense. Or also, let me add this caveat. Him opting out and then just re-signing with Boston for a different deal. That's another thing that I think could happen. I mean, if I were to make a prediction, I think Bregman does opt out, but I do think inevitably he re-signs with Boston, just on a different contract. So I think that makes the most sense, and I do think that Bregman wants to be here. It just might not be on that contract. Tim Kelly of Bleacher Report put out he ranked the Alex Bregman destinations, who's most likely to sign Alex Bregman this offseason. He had the Red Sox at number 1. He said it makes the most sense. And I thought he had a really, really good quote here, and I wanted to read it. And I think that he hits the nail on the head here. He said, "Yes, at times it feels like the Red Sox have too much young position talent for their own good. But keeping that makes the veteran presence of Bregman that much more important. They also burned the bridge with Rafael Devers, so there's no good internal option to replace Bregman at third base in 2026. Alex Cora wanted to reunite with Bregman this offseason, so much so that the Red Sox gave up draft pick compensation to sign him. With Devers gone and no ability to give Bregman the qualifying offer, the Red Sox should be the most motivated player in the sweepstakes for Bregman. And again, I think he completely hit the nail on the head here. You can't give him a qualifying offer. He's probably going to opt out anyways. You gave up draft pick compensation last year to sign him. So obviously there was a want/a need to bring him in. You don't have an option at third base. You could put Meyer there. Okay, but then who plays at second? You got no second baseman. Like, there's a lot there that I don't think. And also, third base is not Meyer's natural position either. It's short, but you've got Story there. Maybe you move Story to second because, his arm wasn't as great at the end of the season. Okay, well, then you put Meyer at short. Like, there's no good option here. And then he says the most important thing, and this is what I have been saying for months now, having the veteran presence of Bregman on this team, a team that is incredibly young and inexperienced, is super important. You don't have that with anyone else. You've got Trevor Story, you've got Alex Cora, and that's kind of it. You need Bregman. 9 straight playoffs, I believe, is the stat, or 10, or whatever the obnoxious stat line is. Like, that's got to happen. And so I think it makes all the sense in the world for them to re-sign him because you just, again, like Cotillo said, you've got to weigh the leadership, the intangibles, his ceiling with his health and the age. I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit on the health and the age side because he's notoriously been healthy. Like, this was kind of a freak injury that happened once years ago, but he's been healthy other than that. So I'm not really worried about that. And then age, who cares? He's still playing well. I know 5 years down the line, we might have another conversation, but like right now, you could use him on your team. So I think it makes all the sense in the world to bring Alex Bregman back. And Sam Kennedy kind of agrees. Here's what Sam Kennedy had to say literally today about Alex Bregman. He said there's a great deal of mutual admiration. I was talking to Alex Bregman's dad. When you have a player like that who just expects to be in the postseason, this is what it's all about. To have a guy like Breggy, who's literally been to the playoffs every single year, doesn't know anything other than that, that's the mindset that we need to have. And I think that Kennedy understands how crucial Bregman was this season, even when he was injured, to the success of this Red Sox team. So to put a bow on this entire thing, my prediction, I do think he opts out. You can't give him a qualifying offer. I think he opts out. But then I think the Red Sox just re-sign him to a different contract. Give him the 5-year deal that he wants for however much money. You've got the Bregman money that you already are owing him is off the books if he opts out. I think. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. But then you've got all the Devers money. So spend the money. Bring him back. And then obviously, allocate the rest of that money to other things as well. I think he should be back. I think he will be back next year. But you let me know. This is how we're going to end the video. Where does Alex Bregman play in 2025? Type R if you think he's on the Red Sox, or type O if you think he plays for another team. I'm typing my R for Red Sox. One, I think he wants to be here. I don't think he's got any ill will. I think he loves the city of Boston. I think he wants to be here. I think the Red Sox want him. All that matters is the money and the deal attached. So you type your R, you type your O, you let me know down below in the comments. That's where we're going to end it, guys. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Like I said, we are not going anywhere. Just because the season is over, we are still locked in. This is going to be a crucial offseason for the Red Sox. They are going to make a lot of moves. They are going to revamp this team, and I'm very, very excited to follow along. So hit that subscribe button. Join us right now, and until next time, go Sox.